The grand piano sat untouched in the center of the glass-walled atrium, polished so perfectly it reflected the cold ceiling lights like a frozen lake. It was meant to symbolize success, culture, refinement. Yet on that morning, as executives in tailored suits gathered for another celebration of power and profit, the piano felt more like a challenge thrown carelessly into the air. When the CEO made his arrogant promise in front of everyone, laughter rippled through the room. No one expected silence to fall moments later. No one expected the janitor, with tired eyes and worn shoes, to change everything. Before the story unfolds further, pause for a moment. If you believe in kindness, in hidden talent, and in second chances that come when we least expect them, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The company towered over the city like a monument to ambition. 48 floors of glass and steel, named after its founder, whose portrait hung in the lobby with a confident smile that suggested the world bent easily to his will. Inside this building worked hundreds of people whose names the board never bothered to learn. Analysts, assistants, cleaners, guards. They arrived early, left late, and carried the quiet weight of invisible effort. Among them was a man named Elias Romero, the janitor assigned to the executive floors. Elias was 52 years old, though life had pressed him into looking older. His hair had thinned and grayed unevenly, and his hands were rough from decades of work that demanded strength but offered little recognition. Every night, after the last meeting ended and the lights dimmed, Elias pushed his cart through corridors that still smelled of expensive cologne and fresh coffee. He emptied trash cans filled with shredded reports and wiped fingerprints from conference tables where decisions worth millions were made without him. He did his job carefully, quietly, with a kind of respect that came from understanding how fragile order really was. What most people did not know was that Elias carried another life inside him. Long before the mop and uniform, there had been music. He had grown up in a cramped apartment where his mother cleaned offices by day and played piano by night in a small community theater. She taught him notes before she taught him words. Chopin had been her favorite, especially on nights when money was short and the world felt heavy. She used to say that Chopin understood sadness the way few others did, but he also understood hope hidden inside it. When she died suddenly, Elias was only 19, and the piano lessons ended the same week the eviction notice arrived. Life did not pause for grief. Elias took whatever work he could find. A scholarship application was never finished. A conservatory audition never happened. Music became something he carried quietly, like a photograph kept in a wallet. He married young, lost his wife to illness years later, and raised a daughter who eventually moved overseas for her own future. Somewhere along the way, Elias learned how to survive without asking for more. The piano entered his life again by accident. The CEO, Marcus Hale, had installed it in the atrium after returning from a charity gala where donors applauded his refined taste. Marcus liked symbols. He liked grand gestures that made headlines. The piano was never meant to be played by anyone except the professionals hired for special events. During the day, it sat roped off, admired from a distance like art behind glass. On the morning of the company's anniversary celebration, the atrium buzzed with excitement. Media crews adjusted cameras. Assistants whispered schedules and executives rehearsed smiles. Marcus Hale stood confidently at the center, enjoying the attention as he always did. He spoke about growth, vision, and legacy, his voice echoing through the space. At some point, his gaze landed on the piano, and a careless joke slipped from his mouth. He challenged the room, saying that if anyone there could truly play Chopin on that piano, he would make an outrageous promise, half romantic, half mocking, fully convinced it would never be tested. Laughter followed. Polite at first, then louder. People glanced around, amused by the absurdity. The piano remained untouched. The joke was already fading when a soft sound cut through the noise. It was the gentle scrape of a mop being leaned carefully against a wall. Elias had been cleaning near the elevators, trying to stay invisible as usual. He had heard the words without intending to. Chopin. The name stirred something deep, something that had been sleeping for years. He told himself to ignore it. He had no place in this moment, yet his feet moved before his mind could stop them. Slowly, almost apologetically, Elias approached the piano. Security stiffened. Executives frowned. Cameras turned, unsure whether this was part of the program. Elias felt the weight of hundreds of eyes on his back. His heart pounded so loudly he was certain it could be heard. He hesitated, fingers hovering above the keys. In that pause lived every fear he had ever known. Fear of ridicule, fear of remembering what he had lost, fear of proving to himself that the music was truly gone. Then he pressed the first key. The sound was soft, imperfect, but alive. The room stilled. Elias closed his eyes and the years peeled away. The atrium disappeared, replaced by his mother's small hands guiding his own, by late nights practicing on a piano with chipped keys, by a love for music that had never asked for permission to exist. He began to play Chopin, not as a performance, but as a confession. The notes flowed with aching beauty. They carried sorrow, resilience, and something unmistakably human. Conversations stopped, phones lowered. Even Marcus Hale felt something tighten in his chest, though he did not understand. Why? This was not the polished precision of a concert pianist. It was raw, imperfect, and devastatingly honest. The music filled the space between the steel beams and glass walls, warming a building that had never known warmth. As Elias played, memories surfaced of nights spent mopping floors while humming melodies under his breath, of dreams deferred again and again in the name of responsibility. His hands trembled at times, but he did not stop. Each note felt like reclaiming a piece of himself long surrendered. When the final chord faded, the silence that followed was heavier than applause. No one laughed now. The CEO stood frozen, his rehearsed confidence stripped away. In that moment, the power imbalance was undeniable. A man who owned everything in the room had been undone by a man who owned almost nothing. The promise made in arrogance now echoed uncomfortably in the air, but something deeper had shifted. It was not about the words spoken earlier. It was about the reminder that greatness does not belong exclusively to titles or bank accounts. Elias stepped back from the piano, suddenly aware of his surroundings again. He expected security to escort him out. He expected embarrassment to crash down on him like a wave. Instead, something unexpected happened. Applause began, hesitant at first, then growing until it filled the atrium, not the polite applause reserved for speeches, but the kind that rises from somewhere sincere. In the days that followed, the video of the janitor playing Chopin spread across the internet. Millions watched, shared, and commented. People saw themselves in Elias. They saw the dreams they had buried, the talents they had hidden to survive. The company could not ignore the attention. Marcus Hale, forced to confront his own words and the public response, made a decision that surprised even himself. Elias was invited to play again, this time not as a joke, but as an honored guest at a charity event supporting arts education. He was offered paid time off to pursue music training, something he never imagined would be possible at his age. More importantly, he was seen, not as a janitor who overstepped, but as a human being with a story worth hearing. Life did not transform overnight. Elias still worked his shifts. His uniform did not magically disappear, but something inside him had changed permanently. He practiced every evening on a donated piano in a small community center, surrounded by children who watched him with wide-eyed wonder. He taught them not just notes, but courage. He told them that it was never too late to listen to the part of yourself that refuses to be silenced. Marcus Hale, for his part, learned an uncomfortable lesson. Power without humility rings hollow. He funded music programs not for publicity, but quietly, without cameras. The piano in the atrium was no longer roped off. Employees were encouraged to play during breaks. The building, once cold and imposing, began to feel almost human. Just before the story ends, take a moment to comment below, share where you're watching from, or tell us about a hidden dream you've never spoken aloud. Your words might inspire someone else more than you realize. Near the end of his journey, Elias stood once more before the piano, not in a corporate atrium, but on a small stage filled with soft light. He played Chopin again, not as a challenge, not as a response, but as gratitude, for his mother, for the years that shaped him, for the moment someone finally listened. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that dignity, talent, and hope can live in the most unexpected places, please like this video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who may.